Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today I'm talking about the word should. I think I first had an awareness of this word and how prominent it is how prominent it was in my world quite some time ago, probably before the last couple of years really. And at one point I did make a concerted effort to not use that word so much. I kind of felt I shouldn't be using the word should. And of course the word shouldn't is with the word should. They both kind of go together. But more recently I've grown to understand really what the impact of using that word is. And it really is, the impact really is a feeling. You will have noticed that when you use the word should, it feels really, really uncomfortable. It feels unpleasant, I suppose. Now, before the last couple of years, I definitely would have been of the opinion that it were the things that I was saying should be different, that I was feeling those things. So let's take some examples, because I think it's helpful to work with examples. So for me, often, as you know, if you've listened to any of these sessions, you will know that often it's other people's behaviour. That should be different, that other people should not be behaving how they are, they should know better, etc., etc., and not feeling good because of that. Another space is around life should be different to how it is, circumstances should be different to how they are. And you know, if we've seen that once, we've seen it a million times in the last couple of years, haven't we? Where it does seem to be that, you know, there's a sense that life shouldn't have been the way it was. So, and then the other space where I experience it a lot with my clients and with myself is ourselves, that we should be different to how we are, whether that's that we should be thinking differently, we should be feeling differently, or ultimately a lot of the time that we should be behaving differently, which of course is the output of that system. That is what comes out the other end when we think and feel, and how we understand that kind of creates the outcome, what we actually end up doing in the world. Now, when we when we think we understand that experience is coming from the outside world, so the sense that if I'm saying somebody should be behaving differently, it's that person's behavior that's creating my feeling. It obviously, if we think that's true, it's going to make sense to push towards that person to try and make them be differently, or just generally moan about it, because it looks like it's that person's behavior that's creating our feeling. It's the same with the rest of it. If it's a circumstance and we think that circumstance is creating a horrible feeling, then it looks like the sensible thing is that it should be different, and then I'll be okay. And you know, the same with ourselves. If only I could behave a different way, I would feel better. Life would be better. I'd be happier, etc., etc. But we're not feeling those circumstances or those other people's behaviour or our behaviour. We're feeling our resistance to it. And it really is like friction is a lovely metaphor for this, because it is, here's what is in life, and if we're accepting of that, it's almost like there's a lubricant there between us and the outside world. There's a smoothening of our feelings. We're not as buffeted by the outside world if we don't believe our feelings are coming from the outside world. That doesn't mean we don't feel. We don't stop being human, and we don't stop having a human experience. But it's less rough because life is a contact sport. There's always going to be things going on, and things are happening in our lives. But we're not feeling that outside world. It just doesn't work that way. We're feeling our thinking about the outside world. We're feeling our perspective. Now, that's not about saying you need to change your thinking. It's about awareness that that's how it works. And thinking something should be different to how it is thinking. And it's resistive thinking. So then we go back to this friction thing where here's the outside world and here's me saying, outside world, you're not how you should. I don't want you to be that way. I want you to be different. You should be different. And then there's this horrible friction where we're kind of rubbing up against the outside world, and it feels flipping awful because it isn't the outside world, and yet we're kind of buffeting up against it, as if somehow by shudding long enough, somehow we'll feel better. But have you noticed as well, like even if one of those things does change to our preference, to what we were saying it should be like, does it feel that much? Did you feel that much better? Does it feel that much different? I don't think it does. I think we're kidding ourselves, really, that's available to us. That if we should or shouldn't hard enough and the thing changes, that suddenly we're going to feel amazing. And I imagine you've noticed it just doesn't work that way. So what's helpful here, I think, is just to realise that your amazing system is always guiding you all the time. When you have an uncomfortable feeling, your system can't guide you about the outside world. It just doesn't work. How could that be? You're not the outside world. You're connected to it, but your physical body isn't the outside world. So you can't find your feelings out there, and you can't get rid of them by making out their change. It just doesn't work that way. And your body is telling you that. When you feel that resistive feeling that you get from using the word should or shouldn't, it's telling you that you've got resistive thinking. It's telling you that you're shoulding things in here is creating a discomfort. That feeling is letting you know about your state of mind. And then whatever makes sense for you to do then will be what makes sense to do. Now, this is not me saying accept stuff that is not okay in your life, but when you come from a place of space and calm and peace about something that's not okay in your life, your response is a response and not a reaction, and it is very different. It's considered, it's patient, it's compassionate towards the situation or the person or even yourself in that moment. because there's a realization that it's so different when you realize your feelings aren't coming up from the outside world or from another person. You can still have preferences. You can still prefer to not have something or someone in your life. You can prefer to change it. You can prefer to take a different path. You can prefer to look towards changing your own behaviour. But from a completely different space, when you realise that your well-being isn't dependent on it, that your mental health is not dependent on it, it's very, very different. So, yeah, just knowing that is really helpful. Being okay with what is brings a lot of peace. It really, really does. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.